Okay, let's dive in. We've got a stack of articles and reports right here,
Yeah.
all focused on the crypto market, specifically June 13th, 2025.
Yeah, and what we're doing today, our mission really is to, cut through the noise. We want to pull out the key insights, the main movements, the notable events just described in these sources we have in front of us.
Exactly, to give you a really focused picture of what was going on that particular day based purely on this material.
And it's quite a mix, actually. Looking through them, you see everything from, well, market turmoil apparently linked to world events,
Right.
all the way to some pretty big institutional plans being discussed, and even specific projects getting some attention.
So lots to unpack, ready to get into it.
Absolutely. Let's maybe start by setting the scene. What did the market look like on June 13th, according to these reports?
Well, the main theme, pretty much across the board in these sources, is losses, widespread losses for most of the big digital assets.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a calm day. One report actually gives us some specific numbers. Looking at around 3 p.m. Korean time, Bitcoin, BTC, it was down 3.32%, trading at 104,204 towers.
Okay, so a decent dip for Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Ethereum, ETH, they saw a much, much steeper fall. It was down 9.18%, according to that same report.
Wow, over 9%. That's significant.
It is. But interestingly, it wasn't all red. There was at least one exception highlighted.
Ooh.
Yeah, one source noted an asset, AB, was actually trading higher, up 6.43%, it says here.
Huh. An outlier in a sea of red then, huh? So, okay, the market's broadly down. ETH hit particularly hard. What reason did these sources give for, such a sharp downturn?
Well, one article was pretty direct about it. It pointed the finger squarely at geopolitics.
Geopolitics, like what?
You
Squid?
explicitly mentioned Israel's military action, and the source stated this event, quote, led to a significant cryptocurrency market crash.
Right, so direct causal link being drawn there in that source.
Yeah, and it described the consequence of these geopolitical tensions as causing massive liquidations and market volatility.
Okay, massive liquidations. That sounds pretty dramatic. Did any of the sources put a number on that?
They did, yeah. Another report really zeroed in on this. It stated that over $1 billion in crypto liquidations happened in just 24 hours around that time.
Over $1 billion. Yeah.
Huge number. And the breakdown's interesting, too. It said $943 million of that, so the vast majority, was from longs.
Longs, right. So people betting on prices going up, getting wiped out. That really highlights the speed and severity of the drop.
Exactly. It speaks to that panic selling, that forced closing of positions. The language in that source really captured the mood, too.
How so?
It used this phrase, big waves ahead, volatility alert, really trying to underscore the market condition.
Volatility alert. Yeah, that sums it up. Okay, so we've got this picture of geopolitical events causing a shock, leading to huge liquidations. But looking through the rest of this material, that wasn't the only story, was it? There were other things happening.
No, definitely not. Even with all that volatility, other sources highlighted developments pointing towards, longer-term stuff. Institutional adoption, for example.
Yeah, okay. Like what?
There was a company based in Japan. One source says they officially completed a purchase of Bitcoin.
Right.
And it adds a bit of context. Apparently, they'd announced they were going to do this way back in February. So this was them following through on that plan.
Interesting. So even on a day with that kind of market dip, you have institutions still buying.
Exactly. And then there's the sheer ambition being discussed by some of the really big players.
You mean like BlackRock?
Precisely. One article focused on BlackRock's purported vision. It detailed a, quote, bold $50 B crypto AUM vision by 2030.
50 billion. The B by 2030.
That's what the source reports, yeah. And it called this big news circulating in the digital asset world. So clearly making waves.
Okay, so institutional buying, huge future targets. What about regulation? Anything in there?
There was one source, yeah, with a really eye-catching title, something like SEC U-turn redefines crypto regulations.
An SEC U-turn. That sounds major. Did it explain what that meant?
Well, that's the thing. The title is very provocative, right? It suggests a big shift. But the actual text we have here from that specific source, it doesn't actually elaborate. It just mentions this idea of a U-turn. So we know it was being talked about. It was a headline, but the details of what that change involves aren't in this piece of text.
Got it. So just to mention, really. Okay, so beyond the big picture stuff institutions, Regulation chatter. Did the sources zoom in on any like specific crypto projects?
They did. One report had a list called Top Trending Crypto 2025.
And who made the list?
It specifically named three: BNB, Polkadot, and BlockDeg.
Okay, BNB, Polkadot, BlockDeg. Did it say why they were trending?
It gave a few brief points. For
Yeah.
BNB, it highlighted a 275% surge. Pretty impressive number.
Yeah.
For Polkadot, it was a bit more general, just mentioning its rise.
Yeah.
And for BlockDag, the focus seemed to be on adoption. It talked about its X1 miner app, saying it was driving mass adoption in 150-plus countries. And this was ahead of its mainnet, its go live.
Right, so specific narratives for each one, according to that source. BNB surge, Polkadot's rise, BlockDag's adoption push.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's try and connect these dots. We've got all these pieces from these specific sources. The market dip triggered by geopolitics, those massive liquidations, but also a Japanese company buying Bitcoin, BlackRock's huge AUM target, a hint of regulatory change, and these specific trending projects like BNB and BlockDag. What kind of overall picture does this paint for June 13th?
Well, what's really fascinating when you put it all together like that, just based on these reports, is you see this real tension in the market on that single day.
Tension how?
On one hand, you have the raw, immediate fear factor, geopolitics shaking confidence, leading to that $1 billion in liquidations. It shows just how sensitive the market can be to external events, real vulnerability there.
Okay, the fear side.
But at the exact same time, these sources show what looks like underlying, maybe quieter long-term conviction.
Right, the institutional side.
Yeah, the Japanese company actually buying.
Yeah.
BlackRock reportedly setting these enormous long-term goals. It kind of paints a picture of a market that's, highly reactive in the short term, but also persistently attracting this foundational interest from big established players. It's like seeing the market's dual nature in a snapshot.
And then you throw in the individual project stories, like BlockDag pushing adoption.
Exactly. Those narratives continue almost regardless of the macro volatility. So you get this really complex mix. External shocks, long-term institutional plays, and project-specific progress all happening at once.
And looking at it that way, based strictly on these sources, really helps you understand why grasping days like this matters.
Absolutely. It shows you it's not just about, internal crypto news. Global events clearly have a massive impact. You see the mechanics of liquidations playing out.
Yeah.
But you also see these strategic long-term moves happening underneath. It gives you a sense of the different forces, sometimes opposing forces, that are constantly shaping this space.
Yeah.
It helps make sense of why it can feel so volatile, but also why there's ongoing development and investment.
So to quickly recap what we've pulled from these sources then. A market clearly down on June 13th, driven by geopolitical news leading to huge liquidations.
Yep, over $1 billion worth.
But we also saw evidence of institutional follow-through with the Japanese company buying BTC, BlackRock's ambitious $50 bet target being reported.
Right, that long-term view.
A mention, albeit brief, of potential SEC regulatory shifts, and specific projects like BNB, Polkadot, and BlockDag trending for different reasons: surges, rises, adoption.
That covers the key points from this set of reports, yeah.
Okay, so here's something to think about, based purely on what we've just discussed from these sources. You have these powerful external events causing massive market swings, as described here. And at the same time, you have these major financial institutions reportedly setting their sights on enormous long-term involvement in crypto.
Those two strong forces.
Given that dynamic laid out in these sources, how might those specific forces, the external shocks, and the deep institutional ambitions continue to pull and push against each other and ultimately shape where the crypto market heads next? Something for you to consider.